Hello, YouTubers. Joe here of Joe and Paul on February 23rd, Saturday at 3:20 in the afternoon. Now, Paul's still at work. He may come home during this video, and that's great. I got an early start today. Not my usual 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning early start, but 7 o'clock in the morning early start. And I resolved to try to make a start on doing my taxes. Well, it dawned on me that I hadn't downloaded the state tax forms. So I ferreted out the Ohio tax form sites and tax instruction book sites. And I indeed was able to print out the tax form. And then I was trying to download the instruction book, which it seemed to do, but then it wouldn't open in Adobe Reader. Okay, so I tried, that was in Safari, so I went to Firefox and did the same thing, and downloaded it, and no, file won't open. There's a defect in the file. Okay, fine. The same thing happened the other day when I tried to do some stuff with a instruction book on a tool that I had purchased. But I wasn't as persistent then, so this time I went to Chrome and I downloaded the stuff, and the Adobe Reader opened it, so I was able to put it, so I put all the other stuff that didn't work into the trash, and then I kept the stuff that did open in my hard drive, so I'll be able to read the instructions to fill out these forms, although fortunately this year there doesn't seem to be too much mischief and changes and stuff going on, so I should be able to do it fairly quickly when I finally get down to doing it. Now, I have to get down to my work service on my desk. So I said, Kersey, you've just got to do this. You've just got to do this. So I steeled myself and I went in my little office. Well, I call it my orifice. We used to, come into my office, come into my orifice. That's a surgical joke for those of you who have any surgical experience. And so I proceeded. Now when I say I had stuff this deep on my desk, I had this stuff deep on my desk. And so I worked my way down and I opened up a fresh pack of file folders. Yes, real paper file folders, and got things sort of sorted out so that should a fresh batch of grief arrive, that I have to be able to copy this stuff up and print things off and send it out to various folks. I'll be able to do it without too much ado. Well, less ado than it would have been otherwise. And I got down to where I can see, the wood surface on my, I have one of these door desks. I have a file cabinet on one end and a file cabinet on the other end, and I have like a plain unfinished door. Well, I sort of put some wax and shellac and stuff on it. This thing's been, I've been carting this thing around since 1975. Well, no, yeah, 75, 74 actually. So I've got it all. I drilled holes in the file cabinets and I screwed the thing on. So I got down to the surface, and so I thought, well, I'll start filling in these tax forms, and I thought, no, you've been at this for 3 hours, and it's a little bit it's almost noon. You just need to knock off. Well, that's true, because I'll tell you, essentially after 10:45 or 11, I'm, if it's not done by 11, it just didn't go get done that day. That's just the way it is around here. So I skittered off into the kitchen, well, the area where you see me now, and of course, started interacting with the device. I had some emails to tend to, and I, of course, had to look at the weather, and then I did the WSJ, to see if there's anything that is earth-shattering. Well, there wasn't anything that was earth-shattering, at least for me this morning, so I'll have to read that later or save that for later if I fall into a well of tedium. I usually don't fall into a well of tedium. I generally always find something going on inside here to, amuse me. As Kurt Vonnegut said in Breakfast of Champions, while he was sitting, his character was sitting behind mirrored sunglasses in the cafe, he told the waitress, "The big show's inside my head." And sometimes, believe you me, you don't want to know what's going on inside this head. Because sometimes it's a big show. Unfortunately, sometimes it's also a big show at night when I'm trying to sleep and I can't tell whether I'm waking or dreaming. And it just, it's very disconcerting to have all this stuff going on inside your head. But that happens. That happens. Sometimes I'm reliving stuff. Sometimes I'm projecting into the future on things that might happen. Well, it's always good to be prepared for any contingency. Plan ahead. Plan ahead. All right. So then I was doing some YouTube stuff. Now, I've been watching. Inevitably you end up watching a lot of these coming out videos. Well, I really can't say there's a sameness to them all, but there's a certain degree of sameness to them all. See, the video medium is, and I'm illustrating this right now, it's a very self-indulgent medium. And it can also be a very instructive medium. And I think particularly when you're gay and if you're inevitably part of, toss out your favorite number, 10%, 4%, 3%, at least for guys anyway. So that narrows it down. So I mean, even at this stage of my life, I'm always interested to hear what people have to say about this kind of stuff, and it's clearly very different for guys now who are in their teens and 20s and maybe even early 30s in terms of coming out than it was for me. And I've interacted with some of my subscribers, or some of the people I subscribe to, more accurately, in terms of comments and so forth about the idea of, did you ever think about killing yourself and this, that, and the other? Well, the answer for me is yes. Had I actually planned to do it at a certain, date certain or time certain with certain conditions met? Yes. Did it happen? Obviously, no. Thank the good Lord and His minions. But it's. I'll do this. I'll talk about it sometime. I might write about it on my website, but I may also do it here. But it's just too painful to do today, so I'm not going to do it. Now, other thing I was going to do today, not necessarily on the YouTube, but I've got this, slide scanner, and I took my last, the last 2 rolls of Kodachrome, and I had them processed, and I got them back, some months ago now, and these things have my dogs on them, my now dead dogs, and I held them up, and I said, I can't scan these today. I can't scan these into the computer. I can't deal with looking at this today. I just can't. I thought maybe I was getting, well, no, you never get over that, but you get past it where you can sort of deal with it. Okay, now I'm looking at a picture of my dead dog. Oh, here, I need to load this in, and I need to click around on this, and I need to do that, then I need to move this, and I need to edit the thing down, and then I put it in the hard drive, and then I have to move it over somewhere else to deal with it again, then I move back to the hard drive. I just can't do that today, looking at these dead dogs. So I'll save that for later, obviously. I mean, I've got the slide material. It's on my desk. I've got the 2 little boxes, of Kodachrome. Oh, Kodachrome, how much? Oh, how I lament your passing. Yes, I know. The resolution on these little video pixels, light sensor discs is better, but I just miss the whole experience of, manipulating the camera, and taking your time, choosing the right moment, and now I got to do it for a while. That's good. That was fun. I can remember it. Okay, I had a whole bunch of stuff written down I was going to talk about, none of which, as it turns out, I ended up talking about right now today. I'm going to read at church tomorrow. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to read the Genesis or the Philippians. Hope I get to read the Genesis. Now, this is the Genesis 15. I like to call that the barbecue from hell. That's where God had Abram, soon to be Abraham, chop these animals in half, and then a couple of birds he didn't chop in half. And then at night, God passed through it in a theophany of fire. Interestingly, Abram didn't pass through between the dead animals, or chopped up the halved animals, if you will. But God did in the form of the fire, the theophany. So that was God see, what I didn't realize, this is a very ancient covenant ceremony, or a contract making ceremony, when 2 big guys got together. It's kind of like a mafia thing, two big guys got together. They'd chop up a couple, 3 animals, and then they'd have a fire, and they'd roast some of it, and they'd roast some of them. They'd walk between the dead carcasses, and that was how you ratified a contract. It's a lot more interesting just going down to your bank and having something notarized, didn't it? But here's God ratifying contract, but Abram never really did. Although earlier in the account, God basically said that he had done because he believed, and that was accounted to him as righteousness, or for righteousness. And this contrasts, I think, very nicely with the barbecue that certainly was not from hell, held on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, the Lake of Galilee, Lake of Gennesaret, Sea of Tiberias. Choose your favorite name from whatever time period. Kind of like Mumbai and Bombay, and Myanmar and Burma. That sort of, Peking, Beijing. Give me a break. Well, anyway, it's where, after the resurrection, Jesus has his breakfast, his fish barbecue for the 7 disciples that are up there fishing. So it's an interesting, it's one end of the story, the other end of the story, in a way, then launching the new story. So I'm going to read, well, assuming I wake up tomorrow and I'm functional and go read. I mean, one day it's not going to happen, is it? other night, Paul said, "Good night, sweet soul." And I said, "Well, good night." And he says, "I'll see you in the morning." I said, "Well, maybe, maybe not. Because one day it won't happen, will it? One of us is going to walk out and find the other one not breathing." Sometimes he is so quiet in the morning. This isn't the case so much now, but it used to be when he was working for these other people. He was so profoundly tired that sometimes I wouldn't hear any. I wouldn't hear. I would, a lot of times he was coughing in his sleep and stirring in his sleep and so forth and so on. That's why I sleep in the chemo chair in the other room, and he sleeps in the bedroom because otherwise we just keep each other awake all night. And I like to wake up and read, and then I keep him up. So so you go in, and you wonder, is he breathing? Is he breathing? And so you go in and you look. Of course, you don't want to turn the light on. I mean, you don't want to. So you go in. And of course, on the other hand, you don't want to be sort of caught and struggling because he might. He's a strong guy. He might rise up and just clock me one. I don't want that, And I'm sure he doesn't want that either. So, and you see then finally see the chest go. Okay, so that's fine. He's alive. Thank God, still alive. I don't know whether he does that to me or not. I don't know. I tend to be a fairly light sleeper. I mean, I guess I'm kind of like, no, I tend to be a light sleeper. Maybe that's why I'm still here. You never know. Okay, well, I think that pretty much covers it. It's a beautiful day today. It's pleasant. I went out and stomped around on the back deck and looked at our beautiful sycamores and our walnuts and our hackberries and all the various creatures. Now we had some creatures earlier. Well, we had some turkeys this morning. They were stomping around down there on the creek bank. I haven't seen any deer today. There was one of this big red-headed cockaded, I don't know if it's a red-headed cockaded woodpecker, but it's a big, these are big birds. And it was down there whacking away on trees, which always makes me have mixed emotions. He soon flew off. Good, go away. Don't ruin my trees. Well, they aren't really my trees. I'm just tending them for a while. That's pretty much what you can say about the entire earth, isn't it? It's not really ours. We're just tending it for a while. We've been giving it sort of on loan. It's like when you rent a house, you don't go in and destroy your landlord's house, do you? Well, some people do, but, in a rightful form of behavior, one does not go in and destroy their landlord's house. I'm going to try to email my son, or I'll call my ex-wife. Apparently, there was this kind of birthday soiree over at her house yesterday in the evening. My son, daughter-in-law, and grandchild were going to be there, and then this woman that we've all known since, for essentially 40 years, who's a wonderful soul, was going to be there. And, of course, inevitably, they were going to play Scrabble. Blow my brains out on that one. Come on, Scrabble. Give me a break. Just don't do that. Don't. Alrighty, I'm going to sign off now. Bye-bye, YouTubers.